very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control.
What the hell?
Plan, of course, is to induce the gradual surrender of a sovereignty, piece by piece and step by step, to various international organizations, of which the United Nations is the outstanding but far from the only example. Now, here are the aims for the United States. 1, greatly expanded government spending for every conceivable means of getting rid of ever larger sums of American money as wastefully as possible. 2, higher and then much higher taxes. 3, an increasingly unbalanced budget despite the higher taxes. 4, wild inflation of our currency. 5, government controls of prices, wages, and materials, supposedly to combat inflation. 6, greatly increased socialistic controls over every operation of our economy and every activity of our daily lives. This is to be accompanied, naturally and automatically, by a correspondingly huge increase in the size of our bureaucracy and in both the cost and reach of our domestic government. 7, far more centralization of power in Washington and the practical elimination of our state lines. There is a many-faceted drive at work to have our state lines eventually mean no more within the nation than our county lines do now within the states. 8, the steady advance of federal aid to and control over our educational system, leading to complete federalization of our public education. 9, a constant hammering into the consciousness of the horror of modern warfare, the beauties and the absolute necessity of peace. Peace always on communist terms, of course. And 10, the consequent willingness of the American people to allow the steps of appeasement by our government which amount to a piecemeal surrender.
This is an historic moment. We have in this past year made great progress in ending the long era of conflict and Cold War. We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
Particularly you, your class, has an incredible window of opportunity to lead in shaping
a new world order
for the 21st century in a way consistent with American interest and the common interest. Think of the possibilities.
All right, nice to see you guys.
For the first time in
See
history,
you back home, I hope. Okay.
the Western Hemisphere is in a position where it has the possibility of being middle class, democratic, and secure from Canada to Chile.
And a warm
reception for Barack Obama as he walks to the podium. His wife seated among the heads of state and dignitaries.
You know, the time has come. Well, for the world to move when Michelle's mad, we must
I get
embrace
worried.
a new
Michael
era
and I
of engagement
also
based
want
on
to
mutual interest and mutual respect.
Jack.
And our work must begin now.
And the president outlined his vision of a new world order in which the U.S. would participate fully, one rooted on 4 basic principles.
Non-proliferation and disarmament. The promotion of peace and security. The preservation of our planet. And a global economy that advances opportunity for all people.
When Michelle's mad,
The leader of Libya,
I get worried.
Muammar Gaddafi, speaking at the UN for the first time after 40 years in power. And waiving the UN Charter, he called for an end to any permanent membership of the Security Council, arguing that small nations should have the same rights as the big. It was a speech that lasted well over an hour and covered subjects ranging from jet lag to political assassinations.
And then the assassination or the killing of Kennedy in 63 or 62. President of the United States of America. Why? We want to know who killed him. Somebody who by the name of Lee Harvey and then another Jack Ruby killed Lee Harvey. Why did he kill him?
A new world order.
These are the gruesome remains of Gaddafi's die-hard fighters who stayed with their master until the end. More than 45 men lay dead. Their petrified and horribly disfigured corpses litter what has become Libya's last battleground. At dawn on Thursday, in a convoy of heavily armed vehicles, Gaddafi and his men attempted an audacious escape that may have worked had not NATO intervened and unleashed a frightening barrage of fire.
He was the big rat.
The former leader had been with them but was found nearby hiding in a culvert.
Don't kill me, my children. He was begging us not to kill him.
So, that is the land of unconfirmed visitors.
We came, we saw, he died.
If our traditions do not survive with it.
No. Oh, I'm sure it did.
There is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent,
A new world order.
to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
A new world order.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger.
This version tracks the limousine and maintains President Kennedy and Governor Connally at center frame. This version is only in slow motion.
A hero of the aim of that plan, of course, is to induce the gradual surrender of American sovereignty, piece by piece and step by step, to various international organizations, of which the United Nations is the outstanding but far from the only example. Greatly expanded government spending for every conceivable means of getting rid of ever larger sums of American money as wastefully as possible.